Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Frankfort Township Board of Education has caused advance notice of this meeting and general agenda to be submitted for publishing in the official newspapers as well as district and municipal offices on June 29th, 2023. Please stand for the flag statement. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have roll call? Kathleen Adam. Here. Leif Anderson.
Here.
Jamie Armando.
Here.
Caitlin Fredo.
Here.
Mandy's here. Jennifer Naus.
Here.
Charlene Molnar.
Here.
Don Tiger.
Here.
Jesse Vaughn.
Here.
Okay, so first off, we have some recognitions. Student of the marking period.
I'll go over to David.
That'll go over to David.
So for the third marking period, our students of the marking period from 5th grade are Eliana Solis-Lagat, 6th grade, Natalie Gushy, 7th grade, Ellie Hernandez, and 8th grade, Alex Vasquez.
And next up, we have the staff member of the month,
We turn it over to Matt Storch.
Matt
Okay.
Storch.
Good evening, everybody. Christine Doobie nominated staff member of the month, but unfortunately Christine couldn't be here tonight, so it's my honor to read what she had to say. I wanted to nominate Jess Pistone, actually for a couple of months now. She's the type of person that could be nominated for any month. Jess always greets everyone, kids and other employees, with her good mornings and hellos, and of course with a smile. The only time that she may not smile is when she is listening to a child who is upset. This is her strength. She really listens, shows concern and understanding, and really relates to the kids. Last month, there was a girl who was having a difficult time coming to school. It took a little bit, but Mrs. Pistone let the student know that she could see her and talk to her anytime. The girl did take her up on her offer and visited for a couple of weeks. The student is doing well now. I have seen many disputes with kids, and Mrs. Pistone is the first person that I would send them to. They go and talk and always come back feeling better, and so many disputes are dissolved. Jess is also the type of person to often offer help if anybody is having trouble in the hallway. Thank you, Jess, for all that you do for our school community. Emily Slota also added, Jessica has been working at Frankfort for 18 years, and in that time she has made a lasting impression on Frankfort students and staff. She's always friendly and professional while balancing the duties of being a guidance counselor, testing administrator, and a go-to when there is a crisis. The students adore her and enjoy her engaging and meaningful guidance lessons. Watching her read a story to children is wonderful to witness. Her love and passion for her job shines through, and she is a valuable member of our Frankfort family.
You got a gift card.
And a picture.
And a picture.
I'll get it to her. Thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations.
Get a picture.
Wait till you see Mr. Mooney's photographic skills. Amazing.
You know, I went back and studied all this stuff. I did.
One time he took a selfie.
They weren't ready.
That's okay.
We're gonna take 17. Or none, let's say.
Got it?
Okay, one of those would be.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
I also just wanted to add a little comment. Jess and I work very closely together with the children, particularly in the pre-K to grade 4 group, and she's just amazing with all she does for the kids. Always has the kids' best interests at heart, and will do anything that's needed. So wonderful working with you, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have some special awards, our Frankfort Heroes. In 8th grade, we had I can't call him Tommy, Thomas Joust and Caden Carney for the sixth grade. Did you have anything you need to say or?
Just that these two students over this past month have shown exceptional selflessness and leadership. Caden has returned on numerous occasions very valuable items that many students today might take home. And he has made it a point to make sure those are being returned. And Thomas has on several occasions helped one of our youngest bulldogs. He has a little bit of school anxiety, and sometimes when he gets on the bus is in tears and doesn't want to come. And Tommy sits with him the entire bus ride, ensures him that school's a safe place and a welcoming place, and make sure that this first grader comes to school and is happy.
And now we have a student council presentation update by Bryce Yanoff.
Good evening, and thank you for allowing the student council to present this report. My name is Bryce Yanoff, and I'm a 7th grade student council representative. On Friday night, April 19th, we had our final dance of the school year. The theme was the 80s. It was a lot of fun. Everybody seemed to have a good time. Last Thursday afternoon, the student council arranged and presented the spring pep rally. During the prep rally, the following teams were acknowledged: Frankfurt and Branchville baseball, soccer, softball, and lacrosse teams, as well as the Frankfurt School track and field teams. Buford the Bulldog also made an appearance. We encourage everyone to come and support these teams. Our May activities will be our car wash fundraiser on May 11th and talent show on the evening of May 31st. Student council meets twice a month where we plan and discuss all our activities. Thank you very much for inviting us to chair our activities.
Wonderful oral presentation. Okay, so our next presentation is going to be on the 2024-2025 budget.
Okay, we'll get the lights. I wanted to start just by saying that one of the most important things for us to do, or for me to do tonight, is just to share with everyone the same message that I've shared several times, just about what's really going on with the budget, the big picture, just so people have a little bit of a snapshot of what's going on. Over the last 16 years, but most specifically over the last 7 years, we've lost money consistently to the tune of $1.6 million. It's a lot of money on a budget that's a little over $11 million. Those dollars in future state funding situations will not even appear, and that's a problem. For example, next year, let's say we got a little bump on our state budget, pick a number, $122,000, on top of things. You need to take a look at that in light of a $1.6 million reduction. That's a problem. The other thing that has been a powerful situation, and this is probably the most important thing that we can talk about relative to the budget, is the impact of inflation. I asked Chris to give me an idea of what our real inflationary number is, how much things are costing more than what they did a year ago. His estimate was just under 6, I believe, right, for the inflationary number. So, and we know right now there was again, I'm no expert on inflation, but there was an index recently that came back not so good about the interest rates going down and all of those things. In other words, inflation is maybe here to stay a little bit longer than we were hoping. If you look at the last 16 years and just tally the cumulative effect of inflation versus our ability to raise money, and the state, frankly, is looking for the local tax dollar to do most of it, it creates a problem for us. It just doesn't balance. So I just wanted to re-emphasize those issues because I think they're going to come back to haunt us again and again as future budgets come by. They're, unless the state really changes things. S2 is over, those numbers are over, and they did promise a new formula in 2 years. Sometimes that's 4 years with the state, but we'll see. I do think there'll be a little bit of a bump, that's what I'm guessing, in the state aid, but nowhere near enough to make up for the inflationary numbers that we all know we're dealing with, and you know, our ability to raise taxes. We're trying to be reasonable with the taxpayer, and we're also trying to be reasonable with our offerings for our staff and most importantly our children. So I'd like to keep talking about that same message because it's important that people understand it because we need to be realistic about it. So we're trying to make every possible efficiency, or put every possible efficiency on the table and do everything we can for the students and the staff to make the budget work. And I think we did that this year, and again, we need to deal with it each year. I wish it was getting better, I don't know yet, okay? So, and unfortunately, if you look at the numbers for the county, places like Kittatinny really got hurt. We got hurt very badly too, just the way it turns out. Some districts, or one of our neighboring districts, got a boost of $2 million. We got 27,000, and over the 7 years, or more importantly, the 16 years, it's over $1.6 million of loss. So just, and again, I'll keep talking about that because I need everybody to just understand that and just focus on that a little bit because that's really what we're dealing with. So, okay, I'll turn it over.
Okay, so I printed several copies of the presentation for those who cannot see it. Obviously, it's not the best positioning, but the first slide is just the history as Bob was talking, or Mr. Mooney was talking about. It's just our aid history for the state, just to kind of give you a perspective, more visual as to how it's been going. The first year, it's a 15-year history only because it shows our progression since the state started adjusting the state aid over the course of the past several governors. So S2, the last section where there's a 7-year reduction, in just the last 7 years alone, the reduction was over $1 million. This budget year was the final year of that adjustment. They still took or adjusted down what they call adjustment aid, but we got a bump in the special education aid in the formula, which is why we have a net increase of $27,000. Reason for that is obviously special education costs are going up. The state does recognize it, and that as a result of our increased classified population, they gave us a small bump in that categorical aid. Otherwise, other things stayed the same, but as per the S2 schedule, we lost another chunk of money on our adjustment aid. In this, at the same token, you can see on the tax levy growth and what has been happening in the same periods of time. You can see when our aid was not reducing so much, the board had been trying to keep it down to flat or negative funding, but over the years with the larger cuts, it's been difficult to keep it at 2% or less, just in order to keep the programs whole. This year, we have an adjustment for enrollment growth. We are going, the budget that's presented here is 4.01% tax levy increase. However, with the inflationary costs, as you'll see later in the slide, there were some significant items that are just mandatory increases we have zero control over. So it's trying to combat those while at the same time trying as hard as we can to avoid losing critical programs for the school. Unfortunately, some of them are hard to avoid, but the board's been trying to be as mindful as possible to balance the tax levy as well as balancing the programs to keep things intact. On the next slide, here are the general options for summary for the revenues. So our state aid, as mentioned, only increased $27,000. Pretty much the increases, the lack of increased state aid is offset by the tax levy, which is $392,000. We are able to now start accepting students from other districts in our multiply disabled program, which is bringing in $46,000 for revenue. Little history on how revenue works from other districts. You're not allowed to make money on these programs, but what it does is our program was only 5 students, so this brings in a 6th, hopefully brings in more in the following year. What it does is it'll just allow us to reduce the cost for the district as a result. So it just gets divided out by the number of the actual enrollment for the year and gets adjusted each year going forward. So in this first year, we have 46,000 that has helped actually very significantly, although not a relatively large portion of the tax levy. Bank interest has gone up 8,000. Fortunately, interest rates are high right now, so we're bringing in a fairly good chunk of interest on the bank. Doesn't look like a big increase, but we're bringing in about $90,000 of bank interest right now. Grants, though, as you can see, decreased a lot, and most of that is primarily we received a couple of state grants for facilities. Those are 1-year grants, so that's a decrease, as well as the ESSER funding, which we got over 3 different ESSER grants for COVID money. That is all expiring in August, and it's been used for several things over the years. A lot of professional development. We had the clinician over for 2 years from Effective School Solutions, and it paid for a lot of technology and a lot of items, but that funding is now expiring. Does the board have any questions on that? No? Okay, next. On the table, it also has a copy of the advertised budget. This slide here, the budget/tax factors slide, is just a comparison of the advertised categories. So these are the major categories of the budget: instruction, special education, RTI, tuition, co and extracurricular. So this is just this represents just the dollar for dollar changes from year to year on the budgets. If you wanna add any?
Yeah, the one thing, our staff members reduced in this budget, 3 full-time and 2 part-time for a total of 4. We also have in special education, we have a compliance shortfall in special education. And we are looking to bring 1 more person in special education to make sure that we're up to compliance. It also may allow us to accept another child or 2 as a tuition student because of all that the new staff member would be able to contribute. So that's kind of where we are. There's some other things I'll be talking about a little later, but that's the main thing I'd like to talk about here. Okay?
Okay.
You want to go down the list or not? We don't need to.
I don't. No, we'll get more into that.
Okay.
Okay, so these are this slide has the major inflationary challenges. So these are the, 5 biggest categories of increases, aside from, overall salary growth for the entire population. But these are the major items that are hard to control because they are actually completely out of control. Property insurance this year is one of the highest renewal years at 15%. Last year was 10%, which at the point was the highest at that time. And this is being driven largely by all of the natural disasters that have been happening around the country. Pretty much wildfires, tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, those things have been affecting insurance renewals across the entire country. We are in a consortium with other school districts across the state, which does spread out our risk as far as out-of-pocket cost is concerned, but with that, as well as the cyber insurance, 15% is the highest I've ever seen. It's usually an average of 5% per year, and now these past few years it's been getting into the double digits. Transportation contracts, this is a mandated rate increase for renewals, are increasing at 5.81%. Fortunately, we were able to do an efficiency routing study this past spring, or this current spring, it just ended, or the study, and we're able to reduce from 6 contracted routes down to 5, which did save us $70,000. You'll see when we get to transportation, the budget doesn't go down $70,000, but with the 5% increase in the other items increasing in there is some savings, but that $70,000 is off the top because we're able to reduce our number of routes. State aid increase was only 3%. It seems reasonable considering our tax levy can only normally go up 2%, but that's $27,000 when you're looking at benefits increased 163, out of district tuition for literally what is only 2 students increased $55,000. So costs grow up a lot faster than the state is keeping up with assistance. You have any
Yeah,
questions?
that's good.
Next slide, budget containment. These are items as Mr. Mooney had mentioned that we had, where we're really trying our best to contain costs to keep the program whole as best possible. This is where if you wanna.
Yeah, we had, like I said before, we had 3 full-time and 2 part-time staff members. The total reduction in cost with all things considered was $260,137. We do need, for compliance, to add a special education position, and we're looking to do that. The bus route that Chris has mentioned before, reduction in supply. I will say this, the PTA has agreed to supplement the loss on our staff supplies to the tune of $7,200, $7,100. And they've also agreed to add $700 to the budget for our athletic program to keep that flat, at least from where we were. We also have a proposal about a pay-to-play for athletics, band, drama, etc. It'll be a relatively small number, but that is on the books at this point. And then we had miscellaneous reductions that had to do with some software that we were able to eliminate. And then, of course, as Chris mentioned before, we had the $46,000 in revenue from other districts, which may go up next year depending on availability of tuition placement.
I just want to mention, I know they're folded, these things open backwards, but I didn't want to waste paper, so I used them anyways. Okay. So in summary though, these numbers now are just how the tax levy and how everything affects your own tax bill. So the next slide right here just discusses the total increase. General fund tax levy is going up 4.018% actually. Total tax levy when we factor the bonds that we are currently paying, which those payments are going down next year. Our total tax levy for 24-25 school year is 3.954% increase. The slide following shows how the taxes are broken up between the 2 municipalities, Branchville and Frankfort. There's a couple factors that go into this number. The percentage is recalculated every year by the state. It has items, it focuses on a few items, enrollment growth expectations that the state has, as well as a balancing of the relative wealth of the 2 municipalities. Certainly people have seen this presentation over the years. They know that Branchville, considering they're a smaller percentage of the total population, that tax levy tends to bounce around, rebound back and forth from year to year, and you'll see that on a later slide. But anyhow, when the state releases its state aid numbers, it gives us these percentages that says here's the apportionment that each municipality will have for the tax bill. And that is just to show you how this works. Going on to the next slide, so this resulting in the tax levy shows that Branchville will see a decrease of $256 per house on the average assessed value of $256,917. Frankfurt, on the other hand, will see an increase of $191 on the average home for next year. And on this slide, the tax levy increase, this is to give you the perspective that shows how it works. It shows the total amount our tax levy went up, and you'll see that even in the years when our tax levy went down, that the tax bills could have swung majorly in either way for either Branchville or Frankfurt. It's just the percentages are much bigger on the Branchville side. On average, Branchville's taxes have gone down for the past 10 years. that doesn't necessarily make you feel warm and fuzzy, but unfortunately, there's that. Frankfurt has been a little more gradual in the increases. Our average tax levy increase though over the same period of time has been plus 1.81% per year. And I think this is the last slide, and this slide is what, if you take your assessed value card, assessed valuation card you get from the municipality, you take that assessed value, divide it by 100 and multiply it by your respective tax rate. The 0.95004 for Branchville and 1.21173 for Frankfurt, and you should get a very close calculation of what your tax bill will be for Frankfurt School alone. I believe they're all combined when you get it from the township for High Point and Frankfurt, but this will help you calculate Frankfurt's portion. And
I just wanted to add a couple of comments, just a few more details about the budget. We did have a finance committee meeting on Friday, and at that finance committee, we did discuss the situation with the special education instructor and the need for IEP compliance with that. The committee chose to recommend to the board today, and of course I informed the board and the mayors of both municipalities to increase the local share by about $52,000, putting it from 3.49 to, I believe it ended up being 4.001. Yeah, so and the increases I shared with the mayors, because that's what, what we do. The special education program is very important, and we'll have hopefully two benefits. One to our IEP students, or students who are classified, giving them some of the services they need. Also, special note, I want to reemphasize this. I know I already mentioned it, but the PTA did such a great job this year fundraising for us, for our staff, and for our students, and they agreed to that $7,800 coverage for classroom supplies and for the athletics. It's really great to have such a cooperative group. And I'll be talking during the superintendent's report about PTA again, but it's wonderful to see. What they want to do is they want to put their money into things that affect the most students, and classroom supplies for all the kids, and there's that. And that could be decorations, it could be a whole list of things that the staff members want with that. And of course, it's helping with the supply numbers for our athletic program, which is very important for the the welfare of our students. So again, as always, PTA is there for us. And thank you. I just wanted to mention when we're talking PTA, the PTA is Parent Teacher Association, and we have a very active teacher group. And it's the parents who do a wonderful job in concert with our staff, and I really appreciate all the effort. I can't help but notice all the teachers at all these wonderful events that the PTA sponsors. I don't know how many people worked at that turkey tray they ran, but there's a whole group of people. So it's a team, and the teamwork really has been great, and it helps us, our students, and that's what it's all about. So, many thank yous to our PTA, which is parents and staff. So, thank you.
Just one comment, and I know we spoke about it at the last meeting. So we did have a finance committee this year, so that consisted of Jamie, Caitlin, Leif, and the president was on every committee. So we spent countless hours in meetings with Mr. Mooney, Mr. Lassard, Mr. Sylvester. There was no stone left unturned, nothing we didn't look into with the thought process of maintaining programs for the students. We looked at anything you could possibly think about, including the Branchville bus, as you all know. we're looking for $465,000. That's what we had to come up with. So there wasn't an ability any longer to shave little things to come up with a little less than $500,000 out of the budget. So that is a part of the budget presentation that you're probably looking at here today. We were conscious of the taxpayers and very conscious of the programs at the school. Some of the things that we discussed and talked about were causing private angst between us and then reporting it out to the other board members after every meeting. I called every other board member to let them know the thought process and what we were considering. And some of them broke my heart. Some of these break my heart. But in order to find $465,000, it is truly, truly a difficult task. And we're here to hear all of your comments and thoughts on the budget. But please do contact your assemblymen, your senators. I don't know what help it would do, but at least if they know how bad Frankfurt is suffering. Why is the school calling me, Mr. Mooney? Lunch amounts. I can't even maintain my own budget, see? So I just wanna let you know that this board has been working on this since January, and it has been discussed in public meetings since January. And the finance committee will continue to meet after the budget is approved or not approved tonight. We will continue to meet because we are going to start working on next year's budget already, because we are anticipating a very tight budget once again. And that will be no small feat again. So we're gonna continue working together, and trying to figure it out so that we aren't impacting primarily the students. We want the students to have every program that they possibly can. So that was the board's overall goal with the budget. Okay, so that leads us into public comment. Okay, 1 second.
Sorry.
Public comment, the rules that, as you can read on the agenda, there's a 3-minute time limit per person and a 30-minute max, so that gives 10 people. I don't know who signed up. You cannot yield your time to someone else. If there is time at the end, you can ask for more time. Motion to open public comment.
Second.
Leif, Kate. Time starts at 6:33.
You just grab the list.
Yeah, do you have the list? Thank you, Dr.
Great.
Robin, first is Robin.
My name is Robin Zia, and for 29 years, Route 28 was my home base. So of course I'm here tonight to ask you to reconsider the elimination of the Family Consumer Science Program. Frankfurt's had a long tradition of having family consumer science for their students. Actually, 70 years. 1954 was the first home economics program at this school, and they've continued it ever since. Because I loved what I taught, I know how important it is for students. Okay, it is real life, not a simulation. Okay, it's an arena where all the things that they've learned in all classes can come together. Fractions, science, following directions, but you do it in a situation where you have to cooperate with other students. You have to communicate. You have to work out the problems, evaluate the mistakes, and come up with a plan. Okay, these are skills that we need today. Self-sufficiency. Who doesn't want their students to be self-sufficient? everything from the budgeting that we talked about, the inflation. How do you buy food when the
for family consumer science curriculum. Some possibilities or some things that are being discussed are music appreciation, digital citizenship, financial literacy, and college and career readiness. We then briefly talked about, looking at my notes, sorry. Procedures and promotion for retention, promotion and retention. There was just some policy that was tightened up on retention. Nothing was newly created there, it was just tidied up a little bit. And then we did talk briefly about Title IX, the new Title IX regulations, but Mr. Mooney really summarized everything I was going to say to you anyway.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I actually appreciate it. In his superintendent report, he gave you basically what we discussed there. It was a very brief conversation. That's all.
Great. Mr. Lassard has an update for us on technology.
I don't have any info on the state testing, I leave that to the principals, but as far as the computer purchase, it was brought up about the purchase we have for Chromebooks. This Chromebook purchase is being funded entirely through federal funds that we received from the Emergency Connectivity Fund. So we received $89,000, we have a few 2,000 extra that are being funded for it, but it is being used to purchase not only 5th grade computers, also replacing Chromebooks in the elementary school. So we have about 400 devices going down to the elementary school, which includes some replacements for carts, several classrooms, as well as 1st grade and so forth. We are also replacing 10 desktop computers for staff, another 12 laptops for staff. All of these computers are 6 to 8 years old, so they're definitely in need of replacements, as well as replacing 5 classroom projectors in this. I've been working with Mr. Dubkowski for the entire year to try and get a specific list of what we need for the computers. How the computer replacement works as far as the middle school, and this has been discussed for a while at this point, how that is going to work or how it is working is the kids in the middle school, starting 5th grade, they get a Chromebook, it is assigned to them, they have that same Chromebook through 8th grade. When these Chromebooks are good for, at this point, a maximum of 6 years is the useful life that Google has set for these. After that, they are done. There's no more updates and there's no more ability to use them because there's no more security updates or anything. So at the end of the 4 years, we're expected to have 2 more good years for that, and those computers are going to go to keep funding or filling the elementary grades. You have 55 kids in a class, by the time they reach 8th grade, we might have 30 computers that are still usable, but they are heavily used at that point. Right now, the outgoing 8th grade is going to move down to, I think it's the 4th grade. Those computers are dispersed in there, but then we're supplementing the others. But as we go through, slowly cycle through these, the lower grades will be getting usable computers. We'll have some spares to handle with those that have been damaged a little too much. The good thing is, or not necessarily saying the good thing is, with the fact that we have these computers, all of the students have an insurance policy to cover damages and stuff. We wanted to make sure that when you come into 5th grade, you're getting a new computer. You're not getting one that's been beat up for a year or 2 years. We want to make sure you get a new one, this is yours, you're taking ownership of it, you're responsible for it. We don't want you to feel like you're being responsible for someone else's damages. That's why we're moving them down to the elementary grades. Daryl is managing those as best he can, he's making sure we have spares to keep things running, but we want to make sure that students feel whole, that they're not being shortchanged with a used machine that's been beat up and may have other problems that we're not aware of. So, we definitely have a plan for it, but this computer purchase is being made using federal funds that we received this year. We're just making the purchase at the end of the year because we got new ones at the end of last year. We're trying to make sure we stretch our dollars as best we can to avoid affecting the tax levy. There will be a smaller, much smaller purchase next spring. However, that'll be just one classroom's worth for that matter, and we'll be figuring that out as we do the budget. Hopefully we can get some more funding from the Universal Schools and Libraries Division, which is the Emergency Connectivity Fund that's paying for it now. If we're lucky, we'll get some more of it. At that point, we just gotta take it 1 year at a time. That's all I have on there. I don't know if Dave or Bob, you wanna talk anything about the state testing. I know I have put in some purchase orders for additional headphones, mice, things of that nature, but,
Just 1 second.
okay, yeah.
But thank you, Mrs. Eckert, for bringing that up and giving a problem with a potential solution. That is always very helpful, so thank you.
We met with Jess and Jen, we also had a faculty meeting where Jess and Jen led the discussion about the testing. We've done this before, I think we're in relatively good shape with the testing. I'd also like to commend the teachers in the classroom relative to the testing, because they really do everything in their power to stay with the pacing and the plans that we have. Because one of the things you need to do is get to the end by the testing date. And teachers have done a really very good job from what we've seen about doing their best to get to the end, spiraling back so that you don't have to spend 3 weeks reviewing a year's worth of work, spiral back to unit 1, spiral back to unit 2, etc. They're using the test, or actually the student learning standards for as their guideline, and staying on task with pacing, recognizing that the program that they have, the on-course and the curriculum are tools that are very helpful. So we're very pleased with the effort this year to enhance the testing, and hopefully our scores will start to go up, and I think they will. So that's really what I wanted to say about testing. Anything else you want to add, Dave?
Just an email went out today with the dates in regards to the middle school. I would like to just note that it says to have your child have headphones, make sure they're wired headphones. Bluetooth
Yeah.
headphones are not allowed. That was it.
Okay, so moving on to finance, physical plant and transportation. We discussed what the finance committee met about on April 26th, last Friday. The tuition agreement is on here. That's a tuition agreement for a medically disabled student from another district placed into Frankfurt. And that tuition does help our budget. And then we have the sewer discussion. So, as many of you know, our school is on a septic system. There are 3 septics here. There are 3 septics here. One was replaced in 2018 for the B wing. We are having quarterly meetings with the mayors to just discuss overall situations between the towns and the school. And one thing that was brought up is that we are in a sewer area to hook up to the sewer in Branchville. Our septic system for A-Wing, right, Mr. Lazard, is 60 years old or older. It's original to the building. So that, that's old. Right, Mr. Mooney, that's old.
It's not as old as your assistant, your interim superintendent. The building.
Make them like these.
1950.
Yeah,
So
so,
that's
original.
so it's
2 or 3 years
original,
old. It's old.
it's original to the building.
Yeah.
A part of the sewer discussion is because we are in a sewer district. Mr. Lassard, believes that there is a one-time in-kind replacement, for the septic system. The county may not afford us a, permit for repairs and replacement, which means we would have to tie into the sewer system. We are working right now to start that process, because if that septic were to fail and the county were not to give us a replacement, that would be detrimental to the school. What was originally designed by Harold Pello is something that we're looking into. It would include a pump station. I think, and Mr. Fredo let me know, at the time when the sewer was put in place, it was over $500,000 to install that pump system.
$450,000.
About $450,000, so right now, you could imagine it's going to cost more than that, and you realize our budget constraints.
That was 7 years ago.
So we are in discussions with the towns on that, and planning so that we don't hit that detrimental state where we can't open the school because we don't have bathrooms. So that's another part of things that are in the background of this board's heads, the things we lose sleep over. But just to make that public knowledge, that's where we're at with the item on here called sewer discussion.
Can I just have?
Sure.
There are things we can do to get out of that jam. There's always answers, but they're not good answers. So I just wanted to mention that
Right.
this isn't the first time, and hopefully it'll never happen here. That's what we're planning to avoid. But there are some answers that could bail us out for a bit, but they're not good answers. They're expensive
Expensive.
and they're inconvenient and,
When the septic, I believe, on B Wing went, when we replaced it in 2018, there was a pump truck that came, I
Yeah.
believe, every other day. And the cost of that, luckily, that septic failed in May, so we only had to do it for 6 weeks or so until school got out and we could replace the
Right.
septic. So that was like a lucky timing portion of it. But we cannot afford to pump a septic every other day, for a school year. And then it's also, we need to get with Harold Pello and start discussing that engineered design that he has, and what the previous discussion was 7 years ago when it was brought to the school's attention that we could tie into the sewer and moving forward from there. The school safety and climate, so apparently there was a fire drill on my birthday, April 16th, 2024. There will be a lockdown drill. The school bus evacuation drill was completed on April 25th. And that just gives you more information on there about the bus numbers involved and who supervised. Personnel has already been discussed. So that brings us to the regular consent agenda. And the following items are a matter of routine business and will be voted on by one motion. And that is number 2024-04-29-3. And that goes until, no, we do a roll call on the other ones, right? So that will go through 2024-04-29-39.
Yes.
So be it resolved that the Frankfurt Township Board of Education accept the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the above identified regular agenda items 3 through 39. Kate Adam.
Do we need to do a motion?
But we need-
Oh, motion, sorry.
Motion, Kate Adam.
I thought Kate was gonna motion it, that's why she always motions.
Exactly. Second.
And Caitlin will second.
Yes.
Kate Adam is a yes. Jamie Armando.
Yes.
Caitlin Fredo.
Yes.
Jennifer Naust.
Yes.
Charlene Molnar.
Yes.
John Tiger.
Yes.
Jesse Vaughn.
Yes.
Leif Anderson.
Yes.
Andy Joust is a yes. We enter into the budget consent agenda. The following items are matters of routine business and will be voted on by one motion. Resolved that the Frankfurt Township Board of Ed accept the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the above identified regular agenda items numbered 2024-04-29-40 through 2024-04-29-41. And that is the 2024-2025 school budget and the budget and tax schedules. Motion,
Make it.
second,
Second.
Kate Adam,
Sorry, hold on, I'm writing my second. Who's the second?
Jesse,
Thank you. With regrets, yes.
Jamie Armando,
Yes.
Caitlin Fredo,
Yes.
Jennifer Naust,
Yes.
Charlene Molnar,
Yes.
John Tiger,
Yes.
Jesse Vaughn,
Yes.
Leif Anderson,
Yes.
Mandy Joust is a yes.
no,
We know,
no, because we do that next meeting. We'll do it next meeting.
Okay.
yes.
Yes.
Next, we have public comment. Again, it's a 3-minute time limit per person with no yielding to anyone else. There's a 40-minute maximum this time. And if there is time left over, you can ask for more time at the end. We're gonna start at 7:37.
I'll make a motion.
Motion,
Second.
second. Anyone signed up for public comment? Lori Eckert,
I'm just gonna pass.
okay. Sarah Henson,
Yeah, there's no point, thank you.
Motion to close public comment,
Make it.
second.
Second.
Other items for the good of the order. Please complete your annual ethics disclosure online. The deadline is tomorrow. Our next meeting is May 13th, and then we have another meeting on June 10th. Is there anyone that needs to discuss any? Kate?
Just really quickly, I always like to point out that we received a donation from the Kittatinny Masonic Lodge and the East Coast Combustion Specialist, so thank you to them.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was wondering, Mr. Mooney, for the MOA,
Yes.
are we recommended to report certain behaviors and actions to the prosecutor?
Well, we've been discussing that there's been a little controversy about the MOA. The MOA is the memorandum of agreement between the schools and basically it has to do with the state police, but it also includes the prosecutor and the county superintendent. All four parties need to sign that MOA. There's been a committee of superintendents that have met to discuss certain aspects of the MOA and recommendations related to the MOA. Some of those concerns have to do with topics that need to go to the prosecutor's office. Also, there was another request, something I chose to hold on, which is a law enforcement team. And I decided that I didn't want to, it's not required, it's an option related to that. And I just didn't think that that would be what we should be doing as school employees and officials. At least I'm not convinced that it's a good idea yet. But yeah, there are some guidelines related to that about referring certain things to the prosecutor's office. We've had meetings, I've had meetings with the state police about that. We've also, the county prosecutor, I think it's actually the county assistant prosecutor, was at our meeting when we were signing the documents. There are some controversial things. One of the things I will say, and again, this is just me, my opinion, having been involved with this for so long, there's very little that is going to be coming from our schools that are going to result in any action by the prosecutor's office. It just, the odds of that happening are remote. There may be items that come up that we need to refer to the prosecutor's office. Also, things we have to refer to the state police, but there's very little response. It's just, it's just the way it is. They usually just say, school will handle it, and it's kind of things we've been handling for a long time. There is a little complication that John's been talking about, which is, the upcoming Title IX situation. But yeah, there's some controversy regarding the MOA, yes.
Now, before that, before we had to go to the prosecutor, we would go to the state police, right?
Typically, my practice was to go to the state police with issues. And it was my understanding, to the best of my recollection, that if needed, the state police would go to the prosecutor's office. Really never happened. It really never did happen. And I know there's a lot of debate on the state police level. There's a lot of debate at the superintendent level. And we'll see where this goes. But on a practical level, and it's something that we actually have to deal with, the odds that some of these things would ever be heard or dealt with by the prosecutor is virtually none. The kind of things we're dealing with. We could have something, but very unlikely.
Who's asking us to report? Like who came in and said, hey?
There's some wording in there that the county superintendents have challenged a little bit about this, and also there's some controversy, like I said before.
But is it the state of New Jersey asking us to
Yeah, what
report?
happened with the
governor?
MOA is we were waiting for the new MOA for a long time. It came out, and it was, presented. It is a required document that we approve it. And we've always had an open relationship with the state police here, as I've had in other districts with sometimes the local police. We are obligated to give certain information to the state police about certain cases. Again, almost never comes up, particularly in a K-8 district. But there's some controversy attached to it. Again, I don't think it's a great controversy now, it doesn't have legs on it yet, but there are some discussions, so I
but this is
understand your
coming
concern, I
from-
do.
So this would come from the governor or?
I think it's more from the Attorney General, the State Attorney General. If I'm reading this correctly, that would be my understanding. Doesn't mean the governor isn't buying into it, I'm not suggesting that. But it is coming from the Attorney General, from all that I've seen, the Office of the Attorney General. And so that's kind of where we are on this.
Can I just make a blanket statement? I'd suggest that parents look into Title IX and look at the new revised version of Title IX and look at how dangerous this new Title IX revisement can be to having to deal with the new MOA as well. I believe everybody can do their own research and we'll be talking more about it soon, right?
If I'm reading it correctly, Title IX documents are federal documents, from what I understand.
And this applies to K through,
Yeah.
12
And
federal funded
college too.
schools.
College
It
too.
was only meant for college though, I believe,
Pardon?
but now, it was only meant for college though, wasn't it, in the beginning?
Oh,
The original Title IX?
Let me tell you what I know about Title IX, which is limited, but some of it would be meaningful, I think. Originally, they were talking about equal rights for the girls and the women and the collegiate level. For example, you're supposed to have either the same number of teams or equivalent programs for the girls and the boys. That was what we were hearing for years, that there was that area of concentration. Now it's branching off a little bit. It's still about rights of students and balancing the issue. But Title IX, as I mentioned before, the snapshot of it is that there are guidelines for harassment, sex-related harassment and intimidation, and there's also guidelines for policy that should be approved by this board in July, and also at least
We don't meet in July.
we don't meet in July. Oh, we don't.
We might have to, no.
I've never been here in July, so I
But
don't.
Title IX,
But,
Title IX is no longer just for women, just so everybody
no,
knows.
it's beyond that,
So,
yes, yes,
Josh, just
yes.
No
so,
longer.
It
just
is-
to clarify, these comments are coming from Mr. Tiger and not necessarily the board.
No, this is all me,
No, right,
guys.
right,
This is
right.
me. I figured
Right.
bring it to attention. I
It is a
asked,
federal law, John, and, the influence that we would have on a federal law is, whatever. Doesn't mean we don't vote or
Yeah.
individually say what our piece is. And I understand the board's not saying that John Tiger is, and I get that. But just some clarifications from what I know. And I think what I just said is rather accurate, although I claim to be no expert in the area,
But these are items to discuss in public
And-
forum.
In the public forum, and we are starting to do that, and I think we have to see where this all rolls out. There are documents that I believe the board has at least received the links for, a lot of reading. I've done some of it, I haven't done it all yet, but, and I thank you for bringing,
Thank you for
one of the
giving me
things we
the
try to do is I try never to surprise the board, and the board is very good about not surprising me, so John, thank you for that, I appreciate that, that's the way it's supposed to be.
Anyone else?
I just, one thing, I just encourage everyone, this is coming from me, to write to the governor, to the assemblymen, because these cuts are not going anywhere. And again, I know it was very hard for all of us. Everything that we approved is not something that we wanted to see for Frankfurt ever. Unfortunately, our hands are tied and it's coming from somewhere else, and there's really no wiggle room. There's nothing to come up with $465,000. There's really not a lot for us to do. So I'm encouraging you all. I know I've been writing to the governor. I've written since January, at least twice a month. No reply. But I just think, I'm encouraging everyone here to just let them know that we are in need over here in Sussex County. That, we're not doing so well. So That was all.
And just to expand upon that, there is something that the Senate Leaf brought up in a committee meeting, where they are going to allow you instead of a 2% tax levy, up to what, 9.9%? But again, that's not state aid, that is raising the taxpayers' money, so that's more to pay here. And I believe, Mr. Fredo, did you say at one meeting, 80% of your taxpayers are on a fixed income? Or,
No, it's about 35%.
and that, but 80% don't have kids in the school?
Yeah.
That's what the statistics go, so, you know, we are in need, and any help anyone can give, any
Any
push.
suggestions, any?
Yeah, we're open to anything. And thank you all for coming tonight and expressing your opinion, and those of you that stood up, I know that takes a lot of courage, so thank you for doing so. And as I mentioned before, all of our committees are continuing to meet throughout this entire year to keep moving forward for next year, to see how we can plan ahead. Because while we were discussing it, and we did have discussions in public meetings since January on the budget, I'm not sure that got put out to anybody who doesn't regularly attend the meetings. And last meeting it was dove into a little more at the last meeting, so I think people understood a little bit more at the last meeting, and then hopefully this meeting sheds a little more light onto it, but again, it's nothing that any of us took lightly. Motion to adjourn,
I'll make it.
Second.
thank you. Mr. Hennigan, I'm gonna kill me.